Hello girls and guys of YouTube, this is my 6th month update video for my Klein tool bags and tools for my electrical apprenticeship in Vancouver, BC. All these tools is what I'd call a premium set. Everything here is very expensive and you definitely don't need this to start out, but use this as your basis for when you're buying tools and what type of tools you're going to need for the first few months of your apprenticeship. Okay, let's get into it. So when you're picking out your tool bag, you need to be able to find one that's going to hold enough stuff and still be comfy on your belt. So for me, it was a Klein tool bag, very cheap, just from Home Depot. It came to about $56 after tax, and it's perfect for everything that I need for what I'm doing, which is a industrial-esque type of electrical work. So just like with any other trade, it's really important to know exactly where you keep all of your tools. This bag has two sides to it. One side for all your pliers and a few small things in the front, and all your screwdrivers in the back, as well as places for a few large screwdrivers in the front. And on the back side you have your levels, your tape measures, and your little electrical sticks, just in case you need to check if something's live. Again, this is mostly for industrial, so I'll also be including a socket set with this. So if we go into the back of my pouch, we have mostly the screwdrivers that we'll need for Vancouver, BC. This is not the same as most electrical apprenticeships, especially if you're from out of state or if you're in the US somewhere. So for us, we use Robertson screwdrivers, which are square heads, and we have 3 different types in this bag, but I do have more as well in a separate set in my trunk that we don't use very often. So we have a green Robbie, red Robbie, and a black Robbie, as well as our Phillips and our 2 flat heads. One is going to be here and one's going to be in the front of my bag. This one is the smaller one, the head. They all have measurements on the top, but they're all going to get pretty busted up when you use them when you start hammering. We also, for my application, use a lot of micro screwdrivers. So in this case, we have a Phillips here and a flathead here, as well as a ratcheting stubby, which has a whole bunch of different ones you can cycle through. This I found at Home Depot, and it has my boss even wanting one as a Christmas present. Besides that, we have the Klein knife, which actually I don't recommend, and then I'll go into why sooner than later. But basically it's a flip-up knife, and you can use this for cutting into tech cables and stuff like that, and it needs to be sharpened. Put that off to the side. In behind here we have a 11-in-1, which functions partially as a few different types of nut drivers, which we use quite often, as well as a pair of side cutters, a pair of needle nose pliers, strippers, linesmen in the back, and then also a pair of channel locks, which we use basically every single day. In the back side here we have a Milwaukee level. It's got a magnet on it for when we're working on big metal machinery. I'll include a picture here. We have a tape measure, 8 meters, 26 foot, both metric and imperial, just in case you're using different measurements on different plans. A pair of safety goggles, because safety first. And we have a little electrical stick. Don't use that very often, but when we do, they come in handy. In the front of this bag, we also have a little chain to hold electrical tape. I don't like this, and I'll get into why and why I'll be changing that up soon. I have a paint pen. Normally I keep some Sharpies in here as well, but I am out because everybody keeps stealing them. Now, in this case over here, we have a full-on socket set. This is an SAE set from Snap-on. This was recently purchased by me, but I have been using the absolute, well, I've been using it a lot, and it's an SK box that my dad used to own. Now what you could use is the nut driver on your 11-in-1. Let's see if we can grab it here. It should be right there. And you just pull out the different tips and you'll get different sizes. However, sometimes it is nice, especially when you have some long ones, to be able to just ratchet them out as well as tighten them down really tight and to know that you're actually getting things secure. Sorry for the airplane. Finally, what you're going to need is a whole bunch of junk pouches, which come in very handy when you're working on big projects and you don't want to keep running to and from the trucks, as well as a whole bunch of tie straps. We have the very high quality metal ones, and I definitely recommend using those if you have a choice. A little bit more expensive, but if your company is paying for them, I definitely recommend using them. They will hold almost everything. Okay, getting into the tools and why I picked them. Over here we have a heavy-duty flathead from Klein, as well as mirrored on the other side of the front of the pouch is going to be your really small flathead here. Those are really good when you're breaking into things, especially this one here. And if you're putting on covers, especially different like decor plates, you're going to be using this one a lot. With these two micros, you use them on a lot of panels, and those come in really handy. I might end up switching these for a Klein set later on, because the Mastercraft ones tend to strip the actual screws themselves, and that's no good. And also they don't fit into the bag as well as I'd like them to. Next, pride and joy is this mini ratcheting screwdriver. You can change it forward, backwards, and reverse into a normal screwdriver. It has all your impact sets too, and they're all held on by a really strong magnet that you can actually barely get at one-handed. But anyways, you can put that into a impact and use it just like that as well. Definitely been using that quite a bit. Now in the front here, it's where I keep my side cutters, and normally they're a lot cleaner than this because I keep my tools really nice and clean. But we've just been working in a big industrial plant, so we've been using them quite a bit. Anyways, these are the Klein sets. Definitely 10 out of 10 would recommend on all of these tools that I'm going to be mentioning next. This set's really nice, and I like to keep my sets really color coordinated because that's something OCD that I do, and these stand out really well if somebody's looking for them. And if somebody asks you for your pair of side cutters, anybody can just say, okay, it's the red handle, and reach in and grab them. Now in behind those, tucked away, we have the channel locks by the original channel locks company. And it's really important to keep these really well covered in WD-40 almost at all times to keep them clean and sliding really easily, because a lot of the other journeymans have theirs and they're all stuck together and they're really just a pain to work with. Just take those out. In the front here is something I don't really use too often. It's my pair of needle nose from Klein. Personally, I haven't found a great application for these. I wish they were a little bit smaller and a little bit more narrow, because right now they're the exact same size as a pair of pliers. You might as well just use those to go in and grab them. They have the little, I think that's an 8 gauge. Probably actually no, more like a 16 gauge wire stripper on the side there. I've yet to use these in a practical application. Next we have the strippers, which are also very dirty from the industrial plant that we've been at, and these things are absolutely great. We'll see if this is going to focus on these or not. There we go. So this is from 10 gauge all the way down to 16. In the back here you have your linesman, again sticking with the yellow theme on the one side, so I can just yell yellow handles, stuff like that whenever I need something. In the back we have our Milwaukee level, which is really nice because it's magnetic. It will stick to anything, so when we're mounting metal boxes on our big equipment, of which I showed you the photo earlier, it is really easy to use both hands, so you don't actually have to keep prying back and forth to make them level when you're actually mounting them by yourself. Beside that we have our tape measure. I used to have a belt buckle for this, but I don't wear the belt enough to actually need it. Normally we just end up carrying these around. And then on this side we also have a reciprocal, which is really nice if you need power in some place that you're working. You can just wire that up really quickly and use it from there, and just put a whole bunch of electrical tape around it so you don't zap yourself. I only have one Phillips driver because we hardly ever use that, and it's usually more used to actually break through drywall than anything. I do need to get a drywall saw, but right now this knife is working perfectly for that. This paint pen is great because it shows up on basically everything. We have white ones too. And then we have electrical tape. Normally I have a different color always on here. We have the usual black, red, white, and green, but normally I just throw a blue or yellow on there just to show my work's different from everybody else's. Yeah. And coming over here, you definitely don't need to get a snap-on set. This is just a recent purchase from me, just out of the love for Snap-on brand and the high quality tools that I have, and they have been helping me out a lot. So why did I choose Klein? Well, basically you have two choices when it comes to working with really good quality electrical equipment. You have Klein and then you have Knipex. Now, where I'm from, Knipex is next to impossible to find anywhere unless you're ordering online from Amazon. So Klein is the obvious next best choice. I would honestly not use anything else from what I've been experiencing so far, because mostly the quality of the tools is just unmatched. Like I said, the Mastercraft, just garbage compared to the Klein tools. The handles, the grip on them is so nice when you're using them all day. The chrome's nice. The tips are super hardened steel, so they do not rust and they do not wear down. You're more likely to strip a screw than actually wear those heads down no matter what the screw is. Now, normally I also have an Allen key set. It's at work. I have both the metric one and the SAE one, but those are just a no-name brand. We hardly ever use those, so take that as you will. You can just use any set of Allen keys. Normally as well, right here I will have a nut driver, just in case that we actually need to swap in more different bits like this for different Allen keys. But again, we've been working at a big industrial plant and I haven't needed that recently, so we just ignore it for now. Now, why do I hate this Klein knife? Well, number one, it's got these little wire strippers at the top that don't do anything. They're just a complete gimmick. It's nice because it's a foldable knife, but that's about the only nice part of it. It's stainless steel, folds really nicely after you've done it a few hundred times, and they don't come pre-sharpened, so they're actually really dull, and I still have yet to actually sharpen this, but you can see pressing full force, just nothing happens. Anyways, that's the reason I don't like that. I'll be probably just getting a regular box cutter to fit that with, and then the reason I don't like this chain, we have a lot of carts that we use, and they're usually mesh, and this will get either stuck inside the mesh and you'll pull it off, or you just can't actually get to the tape that you want. So I'll probably get one of the ones that you can just clip back onto itself and just have the roll just sit like that. Anyways, guys, that is my review of 6 months after I use my tools. Definitely would not change anything around for these other than the knife and the little chain holding these on here, and maybe just the micro screwdrivers, but that's about it. Even those I could live with, just mostly that knife. Just don't get it, it's not worth it. Anyways, that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it helps you with your apprenticeships and knowing what tools to get and why. This is a bit more expensive. This tool bag in total, not including the sockets, costs about $700. So if that's really what you want and you know you want to do this work, it's definitely one of the cheaper professions to get into, but tools do cost a lot no matter what profession you go to. So just to give you guys a heads up, that's what this is, and hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you next time. Now, when you're first starting out as an electrical apprentice, you have really two main options. You can choose to go with high quality, long-lasting, lifetime, basically lasting tools, or you can go the cheaper route, and when they break you can upgrade after. Now, because I had a job before this and I worked full-time basically from an early age, I was able to afford the premium tools right off the bat and figured there was no real reason to want to upgrade when you could just be using the best tools from the start. So this is why, and in my opinion, I have the best apprentice tool bag that really you can have. 3 Robertson screwdrivers, all ranging in different sizes. Phillips screwdriver, just the singular one. A 11-in-1 nut driver included. Two micro screwdrivers, one Phillips and one flathead. A stubby Milwaukee ratcheting set, I guess is the best way to call it. A pair of red-handled Klein side cutters. A pair of original channel locks. This is the channel lock brand. A pair of Klein needle nose pliers. Don't really get much use. A pair of wire strippers. Pair of high duty or journeyman's linesman pliers. And the last two things are going to be a magnetic level and a tape measure. So this is basically what you're looking for when packing into your tool bag, especially on your first few months of the job.